Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. First of all, I would like to say big thank you for watching my last vlog. Honestly, this vlog got so much attention and so many views. I didn't expect that at all, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching it. I hope there is some interesting content in it. I have received a lot of emails, messages. So thank you, because that really means that the vlog was successful and I had a chance to pass some information which were valuable for you. I would like to also add a little bit of comment because I also received a lot of emails where people well, basically they've been just judging a little bit my language and my poor English. Please believe me, I'm not doing this purposely. English is my second language, and I'm trying my best to do everything what I can to describe those things the proper way. It's not easy thing for me, basically staring at the camera and chatting about things which they're really passionate for me, but sometimes I have shortage of words, problems with grammar, so I hope you guys kind of take this and pass this and don't kind of like take some of those things seriously, because again, I'm trying to do my best, and then I hope you guys understand that sometimes it's really difficult for me to put this the proper way. I'm trying my best. I'm learning as much as I can, but again, this is not my forte, and I'm really sorry that some of you guys got really upset about it, and send me those really critical emails. But I'm taking this seriously, and I'll try my best to improve and then basically do those vlogs I would say better way. Okay, so because the last vlog was really successful, I would like to kind of dig this a little bit more and take some of other stuff into some kind of like analysis to help you guys and also help myself, because I'm also learning when I have to do those vlogs about some of the mistakes we are doing. So today I would like to talk about most common mistakes when it comes to retouching a headshot. Again, those are things which I was struggling with, and I'm still trying to improve some of those things, because again, I'm sure you guys are aware of that. Photography is something which we have to just keep learning, keep improving, trying to new ways to do our job better. And that comes with struggle, that comes with frustration, and that comes also with a lot of work. And I'm sure a lot of people don't realize how much work goes into it. Okay, so today we will be chatting a little bit about retouching. Even also, I'm not an expert, and I also want to be honest about this. I still have I have a long way to go, but there are certain things which I've noticed over the last few years when I really took retouching seriously, and I was trying to learn as much as possible. And now looking back, I could see some of the mistake I was doing. Some of them was trying to do my best, but I was just pushing way too much. And I want to talk about it today, because hopefully that vlog also helped some of you guys to do a little bit of shortcut and get straight on the right path when it comes to retouching your headshots. Okay, so there's 8 mistakes I was doing, and I want to actually talk about each of them separately, and then we're going to jump into some actually samples in Photoshop where I will show you some of those things, how they look and how they can be improved. So there will be a little bit of, I would say, long vlog but I just bear with me, and I'm sure there will be a lot of interesting things to discuss, and then again I will be looking forward to your feedback. Okay, so number one mistake I was doing, and this is one of the most crucial things. I know a lot of photographers, they fight this and then they don't want to do that, but this is the first and one of the most important steps when it comes to retouching. So what you have to do is you have to start using tablet. I know, as silly as it sounds, but even if you are the best mouse, I would say, expert, you have really I would say feel of it, and then you really get those moves and movements perfected, there is no way you can achieve the same results you can get with tablet. I remember when I started, that was really difficult for me, and I was really struggling with it. But I have to admit that after, I would say, a couple of weeks to a month, there's no way I could go back to a mouse. Like, there's no question about it. And please, if you don't use tablet, just get on it right away. One of the biggest myths, what I've heard, and also I actually jump into it, that we need big tablet. It's total BS. The smallest you get, you still will be good. And I found also that, you know, I had big ones and then I just moved to the small ones, because the biggest one, you basically have a lot of area to work with and your hand is getting tired. The smallest tablet you get, the area is smaller, and then you can just work quicker, more efficient, and then you can just move the image throughout, you know, some of the other things which are, I would say, designed in Photoshop, where you can move your image around, and that's going to help you to get to the area where you want to be. But don't spend, again, tons of money or some high-end tablets. I'm using this guy, it's Intuos by Viacom, and I've been having this tablet for, I think, the last 4 years. Never failed me. I had one issue, but that was more problem with the software and the Photoshop than in the tablet itself. And the Photoshop actually did there was some bug in it, and then, you know, they had to fix it, and then this whole thing started working properly again. So yeah, that's the first important thing. When you actually planning to take your headshot photography seriously and you want to take your retouching seriously, the first step is getting a tablet and basically forcing yourself into just basically working with it. It's tough, it's hard, but then you realize that there's no other, I would say, way to retouch your images by using well, you have to use the tablet. Okay, so the next thing, and this is another really important part, so the mistake number 2 I was doing, I didn't educate myself enough, and I wasn't practicing enough. So this is something very crucial too. You have to understand that in order to get better and improve your retouching, you have to first of all practice a lot, even if the results are not the way you're expecting them to be. So make sure you actually every single day get on it and edit at least one image, and then practice. It's like the same like going to the gym. If you don't go to the gym for, let's say, 6 months or a month, you can really feel it that, you know, when you go back, you lost everything what you have learned or what you gain. The same comes to retouching. Like, you have to like literally practice every single day, and the same comes to education. I found that a lot of people they try to kind of learn themselves and they try to do different tools, but that's gonna take way more time to learn those things, where we already have amazing retouching courses. There's tons of stuff online where you can find and learn and practice and trying different things, and don't kind of stick to one I would say method, or like one person. I found I'm trying to use different things from different people and see what works best for me. And also, as I said, don't hesitate to spend money on those courses. I talked a little bit about this in my last vlog, but for whatever reason, the retouching courses are really cheap. Believe me, I found that $100 for 20 hours workshop, where you can actually learn pretty much everything what you have to know in order to become a good retoucher. It's priceless. As someone is just giving their knowledge and years of experience, I'm not saying for free, but for really limited amount of money. So I really appreciate those guys who actually they do that, because that also helps me not to kind of struggle and fight with some of those problems I'm facing when it comes to retouching. They're giving me the recipes, how to fix them, how to deal with them, how to make them well, fixed properly without struggle and frustration and all those stuff which comes to retouching. So that's a really important part. So whenever you have a chance and you want to learn, get those courses, invest money, because they really worth it. Okay, so the mistake number 3, what I was doing, and this is another, I think all of them, they're really important, but like we have to somehow put our mind into it to make sure that we remember those things. So when it comes to retouching females and males, I was doing all the same thing, and I was just cleaning the guys the way I was, you know, retouching women's skin, and that was really not a good idea. You have to separate those two, because you know, guys, they need to look a little bit more rough. You have to leave some of those stuff on their face to make this image more real. Over retouching male, this is something which I was doing for a little bit, and you know, some of those guys, they're like, hey, I'm looking like a woman a little bit, or my skin is just way too perfect. So try to kind of like, whenever retouching a guy, make sure that, you know, you're cutting everything in half. I would say you don't push it way too much, because this is not gonna look good, and your clients, they will notice that, because my clients were noticing that when I was just like doing the same, well, over retouching their skin, and they look so perfect. When it comes to women, different story. I'm sure you guys know women like to have like literally everything removed, and clean up and have skin texture and skin tones like a baby, you know, like everyone kind of pushing on way. There's also a little bit of limit, but you have to kind of separate, like you have to take different approach, I would say, when it comes retouching a female or male. And put this in your head, because I would say one of the biggest mistakes when I was doing, when I was retouching, that I was just treating everything the same way, and this is really not a good idea. So make sure you remember about that. Okay, so now what are we gonna do? We're gonna jump into actual Photoshop, and then I'll show you. We're gonna talk about other 5 mistakes what I was doing, but we're gonna talk on, and I'm gonna showing you like examples, you know, what I was doing wrong and how you can avoid some of those stuff. Okay, so let's jump into the Photoshop and let's talk a little bit more about another mistakes. Okay, so now we are in Photoshop, and we're gonna continue to discuss some other mistakes what I was doing when it comes to retouching my headshots. So the mistake number 4, and this is more technical stuff. So basically, and that happens most of the time to photographers who are starting off their career and they're starting off their retouching, that they, I would say, clean up everything what bugs their eyes, and clean up the skin to the point that there's nothing left. There's every wrinkle, every birthmark, everything what is there is cleaned up. This is not a good thing, and that takes a lot of self-discipline, I found, to make sure that, you know, we leave a lot of those things behind to make this image looks authentic and makes the image looks real. Because I'm sure most of you guys have a chance to see some of those headshots where the skin is so much done that doesn't look real. The image looks fake, doesn't look authentic. The face and the everything kind of doesn't feel right. And I'm sure any of us experienced that. So that took me a lot of time to kind of let those things go, and you know, I had to leave some of those things on the face, which really bugged me, but you know, that was the only way to make sure that, you know, the image not gonna lose that reality. And a lot of us forget about it, and you know, we are trying to do everything what we can to make the image looks perfect, but that's not the case. That, you know, the skin is overdone and it's over cleaned, that is gonna help. Actually, that makes the image looks worse, and we have to really put that in our mind and put that in our head, that overdoing shots and over cleaning them, it's not a good thing. It's something actually really bad. And I want to show you here one of the shots which I have shot, I think it was about a year ago. So this is an original image. As you see, there's a lot of things which was cleaned, but I still left a lot of those things on their face, like wrinkles, birthmarks, and there's a lot of other things around here which I didn't clean it. And I think that's takes time, and that takes sometimes just, well, we have to just close our eyes and make sure that we're not gonna you know, do it too much, because that's not a good thing. Okay, so the mistake number 5, and I want to show you some other example over here. So basically, I've noticed a lot of headshot photographers, what they do, they clean up the face, but they leave out the neck area, and they leave you know, the chest area, and they leave, let's say, the hair. So you know, when we retouch our headshot, we want to make sure that everything is cleaned up. So you can't really clean up the face and leave the neck and leave the hair, because that also is gonna, there's people notice that there's something wrong with the shot, and there's something which is not right. So again, I want to show you you know, the original shot. So you see there's a lot of stuff on the neck area, and I just clean it up the same when it comes to the hair. You know, I was trying to clean it up to the point that, you know, it's still real, but it's cleaned up. So whenever you retouch your shots, look at the image entirely. Don't focus on one area, and don't focus just on, let's say, face, and then leave out everything else. That's really common mistakes that I was doing too in my career. That, you know, like for me, the face was the most important part, and I was just like, you know, didn't care about anything else. Some of those stuff I didn't know how to retouch. So whenever you're gonna be retouching, just make sure that you actually retouch and clean up the entire image, and that's really important. Okay, so that was mistake number 5. Mistake number 6 is over brightening the eyes. This is, I guess, something which I don't know, a lot of photographers do that. They try to make those eyes really pop. I remember back in the days, I was just pushing this whole thing to the limit, that, you know, whenever someone looked at my images, the eyes were just almost eating you alive. And these days, actually, I'm scaling back. I really do a little bit of pop of the eyes, and I want to show you the original shot. You see there's just a little bit contrast increased, and a little bit of more brightness. I clean up some of the veins and stuff. Also left some of those stuff behind, just to make this whole thing looks real. But overall, I'm not trying to do those things way too much. Okay, so the next mistake, what I would like to discuss is, and we're gonna go back to our old image, to skin tones basically the color grading. This is something what I'm struggling with completely, and I still trying to learn a lot about it, and this is not easy thing. But I noticed that this is another common mistake a lot of headshot photographers are doing. So for example, they try to, you know, add some cool tone to the image, and they just like overpowering the shot. So just make sure whenever you do that, you don't push too much, because then the image again is gonna look not real, it's gonna look fake. Some of those tones, they don't work together. So usually what I do whenever I do some toning or some color grading or try to add something, I do them very, very subtle. You know, there's tons of different methods, and there's tons of different things what we can do, but I'm trying to limit this to the minimum and don't kind of overpower anything. Like you probably see over here, this is an original image. This is the image which is retouched. There's not much done. It's done a little bit, but not too much. So just whenever you are doing, make sure that those sliders, they go from one extreme to another. I can show you over here. Usually I do color grading with color balance, and then, you know, like you can really, well, that kind of looks cool for a minute, and then when I would post that or send to the client would be like, what the hell is this? That probably not gonna cut the final shot, or people would be really upset that, you know, there's too much blue or too much red. So whatever you're doing, just make sure you do those very subtle, and you don't really push it too much. Okay, so the last thing what I would like to talk about, and this is one of the, I would say, biggest mistakes, and I left that to the very, very last. So this is mistake number 8. And basically what it is over blur to the skin. So basically there's two common methods when it comes to cleaning the skin and doing, I would say, you know, the clean looks good. One of them is a frequency separation, and the other one is dodge and blur. And burn. So basically what it is, the frequency separations basically separates the tones of the image, and then the colors and the texture. So basically, and I can actually show you fairly quick. Let me run the frequency separation action here. We can go to the low, and basically what a lot of photographers do, they simply get the area, and then go to the Gaussian blur, and they blur it, right? And then when they, let's say, go to the, like, let's go a little bit less, and then basically all the tones getting really, really nicely, you know, kind of merged together, and then looks kind of cool. But the problem is that, you know, a lot of us, including myself, and I was doing this for a long time, I was just, I would say, abusing that that thing, and then basically the skin looks really, really blurred. And especially when you actually decrease the size of the image and we put on the website, that looks even worse, because this whole thing's getting overpowered, and then, you know, like, looks horrible. So just be careful with blurring the skin, because that's really, really makes the image looks horrible. And I've noticed there's a lot of headshot photographers who like taking this whole thing to the level where looks just simply unacceptable. So for the last, I would say, 6-7 months, I was basically converting into learning more and practicing dodge and burn method, which is, I would say, a little bit more time consuming, and takes way more skills to kind of like get this done right. But at the end of the day, the images looks they look better. The skin looks more natural, and doesn't look over blurred, and you know, I'm extremely I would say pleased with that method, even it's much harder to do than doing the frequency separation and then blurring the skin. Whatever method you're using, it's entirely up to you. I don't want to say like, you know, you should do this or you should do that. What I'm saying is that even if you use frequency separation one, make sure that you do those adjustments when it comes to the blurring the skin very subtle, and you don't really you know, overdoing this, because this is gonna really reflect your work and it's gonna look horrible. And I'm sure most of us see a lot of work out there which simply, well, basically, you know, you can notice right away that the skin is so blurred that it looks just horrible, and you know, those images, they don't really you know, just showcase the reality, and don't showcase, you know, the I would say the artistry when it comes to the headshot photography. So that's something which you have to keep in mind, and then you know, don't get caught up that, you know, it's quick fix and, you know, this method works really fast and stuff like that, because that's not gonna give you good results. Okay, so that was my 8 mistakes when it comes to retouching the images. I didn't show a lot of things how to do them exactly. I had some other vlogs where you actually can see my workflow and how I work and how I edit my images, but that vlog was more about the most common mistakes I was doing when it comes to retouching. So some of those things I'm still working on them, as I said, and I'm trying to improve them, and, you know, like, don't make them as much visible as I was doing back in the days, but that's the process. Retouching is a skill which takes time. We have to learn a lot of things, and we have to somehow I would say, you know, take a lot of time to get to kind of like the point where we actually see those mistakes, because back in the days I haven't seen them. I was trying to push the limits and try to do my best, but with the time you are getting better and you practice, you know, you're retouching, and then you see those things from completely different angle. Anyways, okay, I hope that was helpful. I hope you guys had fun listening to my very long vlog. If you guys have any questions, any requests, please feel free to contact me through social media, or you can shoot me an email, whatever works better. I hope that was interesting, and I will be looking forward to hear from you. So wishing you guys a fantastic week, and yeah, I'll see you guys on my next vlog.